Hi folks, welcome back to the Amazing Education channel, and thanks for listening. It's not about the video really, it's just my phone, so it's more about listening, information that will benefit you, not exactly what you might expect to hear, rather what would help you have a more exciting, peaceful, and healthy future, financially beneficial. Although I'm not a financial advisor, this is not financial advice, but I do have a master's and certification and a master educator, high IQ, and hopefully going to help you. And so just listen in, be patient. Now, this is today's topic. Besides cleaning up your trash, everybody who drops trash, please, the topic is lying tenant applicators, people who apply to be tenants. If you're becoming a landlord, if you're starting out, or in the future you would like to be financially better off by owning property and renting it, it's a very common thing to do. Now, most people have usually just a few properties. It might be a family home that they move out of and they don't sell it. Maybe it's halfway paid for or not. It might not be a good time to sell if, say, there's some kind of economic downturn or market crash and recession, whatever you might call it, Great Recession, Great Depression, due to war or other financial issues. This house might not be worth as much as you paid for it or as much as you still owe on a mortgage. But if it's in the right place, perhaps you could rent it out. Or maybe you inherited a family house which you don't want to move into, and you decide, just like wealthy people that tend to own, actually up 4 or 5 properties is the average number that wealthy people with $10 million or more in assets they own. So if you want to move in that direction and be financially secure, not always living paycheck to paycheck, consider, if you're good with numbers, good with people, and good with responsibility, consider renting out. But as I said, the topic is rental applicants are liars, and that is not all rental applicants, but maybe the majority or many at least don't want you to know many details, because just about everybody goes through some kind of trouble in their life, financial trouble, maybe legal trouble, and earnings or job, being fired. They say you're not for men, they say you're not a real man unless you've been fired. It's like you don't have a backbone, maybe. If you haven't been fired by age 30, because how could you not be fired? You're going to run into some kind of situation, either through irresponsibility or sticking up for what's right, where maybe the manager or supervisor is not doing the right thing, and then you end up getting fired. So everybody has something in their past that maybe they don't want to provide this information to a prospective landlord. So now I do have a rental property, just one. Yes, it's a family house, which is why I recommend that. And the big recommendation from a very respected financial advisor, which I'm not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice, this is only for education, but from a financial advisor, very famous one, says never borrow money for a rental property. Now, why am I talking about this? Well, to try to save you from bankruptcy. That's why. So if you have the cash or investments that are worth enough to buy a house and turn into a rental, then I do recommend buying rental property. Or if you inherit it, or if there's some other way you turn your own home into a rental property and maybe get get another place, then that's fine. But don't borrow money. Like, pay off the mortgage first, because one way to go bankrupt is by borrowing money, and then you're not able to pay it back. Then you lose your money and you lose the property, and then you're back to square zero. Not even square one, square zero, where you don't have any money. What are you going to do? And then your future leisure traveling years are sort of another distant dream which you might never achieve. Okay, so now back to these lying people. In my experience, people don't want to discuss, and they don't want to disclose things like animal abuse and bankruptcies and evictions. I'm sure they don't want to disclose this. And 2 out of 3 of those things people don't want to disclose, people hid from me. Until, how did I discover these things? Conviction for animal abuse or neglect and bankruptcy. Well, I used, and I do recommend, this is not a paid endorsement, but I love the Smart Move evaluation process called Smart Move. It's one word. I believe it's the Experian Credit Service that runs that. There are 2 big credit services in the United States. There's TransUnion and Experian. In 2020, now they may have changed their names, but I doubt it. I used Smart Move in the last year. It's 2022 right now. And the credit unions can gather information. They have very powerful computers, and any other service I'm not going to trust as much. It's about $50 to evaluate one adult, and you might need their social security number, and but if they're applying for your house, they will have to give their social security number, and so they'll accept that, and they will provide that, but they might not tell you anything more negative about their past, because frankly they would probably like to forget it anyway. And so and if you ask them, do you have any financial trouble, any convictions, any evictions, and then they'll say something like, oh, no evictions, and yeah, we want to move in on January 1st or something like that. And so maybe they haven't lied, but they've dodged the question, and you might just assume that they didn't have anything else. But guess what? Don't assume. And the old story is, it makes an ASS out of you and me. It's spelled ASSUME. So if you want to assume that somebody's going to be a good renter, or also called a tenant in a rental property that you're managing or own, then you're setting yourself up for future trouble. So don't assume that when they don't tell you that there's no problem. Actually, better to assume that maybe there is a problem, and then verify. And as I said, use the Smart Move system. It's the only one I recommend. Yeah, there are other systems, including Zillow. I love the Zillow system for listing a rental property. And it's wonderful, and it's good for, I think, for real estate purposes, because things are online, and it's Zillow.com. It's an online system. It's a wonderful system, and so I do recommend that. But I don't recommend using their lease system or their background check system or the other system, even though it's cheaper. But if your experience is different, please like, subscribe, comment, and use the comments to let us all know why the Zillow system is really good. And because it is cheaper than the Smart Move system, maybe it's the way to go. I don't recommend it because I haven't used it. So if you've used it and you've been pleasantly satisfied, and there's no reason why it should be bad, especially saving money could be a good thing, but I just haven't used it. So the only one I've been sticking with loyally is the Smart Move system. Wonderful system. Okay. So also you might have your property set as a non-smoking property, and people, especially smokers, they want to quit, and they will claim that they are not smokers to get a place to live, and also in the hopes that they can quit smoking. But they say you never stop quitting, which means smokers often have relapses when they're going through a tough time, and it's often like a pacifier to stick a cigarette in their mouth, and makes them feel comforted. It's a chemical effect on the brain, and it's an addiction. There's nothing known to be more addictive. That's right, even illegal drugs, although of course nicotine is somewhat illegal, but fully illegal drugs are not proven to be more addictive than nicotine and cigarettes. Some people say chocolate is more addictive, and more people have chocolate, there's no doubt about it. So there might be more chocolate addicts in the world, but the addiction is easily broken with chocolate. People can go hours and hours without chocolate. They can go even as long as a day or two without chocolate and maybe not get a headache. Definitely don't have the digestive trouble and difficulty going to the bathroom without chocolate. But if somebody smokes cigarettes regularly, they can have a dry mouth, headaches, and can't even use the bathroom except for urination. But it can be bad, and it's a very strong drug, which if you are having a rental property, you cannot have smokers in your rental property without huge risk. And many places it's not even legal, and perhaps even most cities and townships, it's not legal to have indoor smoking in a rental property, and it's required to have smoke detectors everywhere. Now, I could be wrong about that. Definitely smoke detectors are needed in every bedroom of rental properties, in many places. So I might be mixing up required smoke detectors with the non-smoking property. So I could be wrong about that. Anyway, definitely getting a place insured, 100% you have to get landlord insurance, not renter's insurance, not home insurance or house insurance. You need house insurance, and you need to bump it up to landlord insurance, which, if you have no experience in real estate, renting, or landlording, it might take some effort or might cost you more, or might not be possible with your current house insurance company. So that's something to think about. And so but as far as smokers go, so they tend to not be honest, and they can quit at any time. Suddenly they're not a smoker, and so they could claim that they're not a smoker when actually they will be smoking. And the only way to know about it or to discover that they're smoking is to have usually an annual inspection, but you could do it more frequently if you're in the mood or whatever. You can inspect your property with, I believe it's 12 or 24 hours notice, any day of the year. And just look into your local regulations, and you go in there, and if you smell incense, if you smell special air fresheners or whatever excessively, and if you notice any sort of ashes in the garbage, which you might just check all the garbage areas, and then you could say, well, there's evidence of smoking. And actually smell inside a closet. You can smell like the inside of a closet door or wall, and because nicotine builds up and it collects and it's very hard to get rid of, you can smell it. You'll be able to smell it. And as I said, the incense smell also is it's a indicator there may be smoking going on, so you need to look into it a little bit more. And then of course test the smoke detectors at the time, and if they're disabled, that's a huge sign that they're smoking in there. Yes, probably they are. And then give them notice and say, okay, if you can get definitive evidence like cigarettes and ashes, you could give them 30 days notice and expect a huge disappointment and maybe even damage to your property, including unpaid last month's rent and other issues in that case. But you may want to remind anybody moving in several times that it's a non-smoking property, and that could include outdoors if you like. It is up to you, because if you don't want a smoker inside your home, you also wouldn't want a smoker living in the house and claiming to smoke outside. But on a rainy day or a snowstorm or something like that, just one cigarette inside, and oops, there's a fire. Oh no, there you go. Huge property damage. You may lose your property. That's another reason to never get a mortgage on a rental property. Never have a rental property with a mortgage. When you lose the property, it burns down and you've got a huge mortgage, so you have to pay the mortgage, but you have no income, no rent coming in. And okay, you can claim that you have enough assets that it doesn't matter to you, and that might be true. So these $10 million net worth individuals, and they have a $500,000 home, and they say, well, I'm not going to insure it. Why would I insure it? You might be required legally to insure it, although I don't know that, but it's a possibility. So that's reason number one. So you may open yourself up to some kind of legal trouble. So if you have millions of dollars and if you are not required to insure your property, and you don't care if it burns down, well, that's unlikely that you would be so irresponsible, but I guess it's your choice. But on your way towards the $10 million, I recommend absolutely insure the house and don't have a mortgage. Unless that mortgage, maybe you say it's a benefit to you. The Rich Dad, Poor Dad author, Robert Kiyosaki, I believe, he recommends that, having debt is good. It helps you. It's beneficial financially because of taxes. And that might be the case if you get a tax expert. I'm not a financial advisor, nor am I a tax expert, and this is not tax advice or financial advice, but it might be beneficial in certain cases. But as I said before, I would want your net worth to be, say, at least 3 or 4 times the value of the house if you're going to get a mortgage on it. So if any issue comes up, the house is destroyed by a hurricane, typhoon, landslide, flood, earthquake, or smoker because they lied to you, well, then it's only 25% of of your assets, and so you could replace it. You could buy 3 more because you've lost a quarter, so now you have 3 times as much assets, say in stocks, bonds, other real estate, or commodities, whatever. You could replace that home and maybe the rental income. So, but anyway, as I said, this is to help you on your way, and just remember that maybe most or many people applying to live in a rental property are going to conceal or deceive or even outright lie in the beginning of their communication with you, and of course, who knows after that. And lying, it may be true. They say that people lie on average maybe 20 times a day, or that 9 out of 10 people lie most of the time, daily, and it's a rare person, maybe 10% of the population, that is honest most of the time. And it could be just low IQ. They don't remember, bad memory, and they'll just misremember and state things as fact when they don't actually remember what is true and what is not. And it's a very common thing to just do that to appear knowledgeable because of say they have they're not very self-confident, something like that. So lack of confidence, and they don't want to appear wishy-washy or unknowing, and so they'll just state something that is not true, and they'll say that it's true. So keep all these things in mind, and wish you good luck on your journey towards financial independence. And there you go. Please like, thumbs up, and subscribe. Watch all the other videos that help you even more on many topics.